Welcome to Scam of the Week, and the cover-up worsens the crime. The cover-up worsens the crime. That's the title of the second interim report into the PWC tax leaks scandal, just tabled by the Senate this week. It's a Monty of a cover-up, all right, good old PWC. Not just your plain vanilla cover-up, but really more of an Odyssean quest of cover-ups, punctuated by regular, more spontaneous cover-ups. The first cover-up was very good. When the scandal first broke, the Big Four firm had been advising government on corporate tax dodging, while advising its clients how to dodge corporate taxes, while flogging this confidential government information to its foreign multinational clients. Yes, you got it. It is treason, rather old-fashioned treason, so they won't be prosecuted for treason. If they get prosecuted for anything, they won't, because they are in the right milieu at the big end of town, where no bad deed goes punished. So they helped them to dud Australia. And the PWC partners got together for their crisis management meeting when the scandal broke, in which they decided to blame the whole thing on one bloke, a guy called Peter John Collins, the rogue partner. All his fault. That was the public relations strategy. When that cover-up didn't work, they fessed up to a few more people involved, but the dozens of others still remain a secret, a cover-up. Then they had not one, but 3 independent expert inquiries to whitewash the scandal, to cover up, fess up selectively, promise to do better, of course. But the main one, the Ziggy Switkowski report, didn't get to the bottom of all of it because, you guessed it, there was a cover-up. They covered it up by not providing the Zigmeister with original documentation, but rather with their version of the original documents, while rival Big Four Operation KPMG were conducting cover-ups of their own before the Senate. The third expert's report, in fact, from PwC was still being covered up. That's the Linklaters report into the scandal, commissioned by PwC International, the big boys from overseas. Now, PwC in Australia is just downright refusing to hand over that Linklaters report. What could possibly be in it? Naturally, it would be stuff that they need to cover up. That's what. The Senate has powers to call for contempt, to put these guys in contempt for not cooperating with the Commonwealth Government of Australia. And it should. Why not? Meanwhile, in other scams, the press was crying, quote, "Nurses, teachers deserted by Labor in Victoria." Good old Jeff Kennett was dusted off. He was on board. And of course, Jeff is very knowledgeable on these issues because his government smoked 9,000 permanent teaching jobs, closed 300 schools, besides taking the long handle to the health system and shutting a few hospitals here and there. Alas, what did the Herald Sun's commentator on Victorian governance, Beck Judd, have to say about it? Well, Beck Judd was not even asked about this high public interest issue. Federally, it was the usual madness in a sitting week heading into Easter, where Labor tried to shove through its Deportation Bill, keep those outsider people out, which has been described as Trumpist by one senator, David Shoebridge. Clearly too much immigration post-COVID is making things tough for many Australians. They've overcooked it to get the economic growth figures up, to make the economy shine. But this bit of legislation is a bit racist, designed to blacklist the citizens of entire countries that they deem are unacceptable. You know who. But they did manage to scrape through, with the help of the crossbench and the Greens, a fuel standards bill, albeit in the wake of the Ute Tax scare, considerably watered down, but only by 40 million tonnes of CO2 emissions. And proudly, we can say that much time in Parliament was wasted and soaked up on something which never needed to even be mentioned. Thanks to Rex Patrick here at MWM, we predicted this. The Orcus nuclear wedge would hit the chamber at some point, and it did this week, with the Liberals having a crack at Labor on nuclear waste. As Rex had pointed out, there was a political later-misere in this. Labor as part of its commitment to the worst deal in the history of civilization, or maybe not the worst, but it's up there. That's AUKUS. We've agreed to pay the US and the UK, yes, we're paying them, to dispose of their nuclear waste, their nuclear submarine waste, here in this beautiful sunburnt country. Don't you worry, no ask is too big for the governments of Australia, especially when it comes to the US. So if we were dumping waste, this is the line, if we were dumping waste at yet to be disclosed locations, then why was Labor opposed to beautiful, clean, sensible nuclear energy, asked the Liberals. Just a bit more waste to dump. Well, Labor, of course, can say, hand on heart, that the reason is it's ridiculously expensive, nuclear energy. It's not commercially feasible. We don't need it, and it will arrive too late. All fine points. But Richard Marles, Albo & Co. also made the case that submarine waste was only small and nuclear waste energy waste was too big. It was therefore a case of yours is bigger than mine. It was the yours is bigger than mine defence. Size does matter. Again, the Herald Sun forgot to ask Beck Judd about this, the negligence, not to seek Beck's view on the nuclear debate. We were crestfallen about that. But on to Gaza, where Beck was not asked either about Gaza by the Herald Sun. But in a week where even the USA abstained from the latest ceasefire vote at the UN, which makes operations in Rafah by the IDF a war crime, and which, of course, Netanyahu is ignoring anyway. But we're on a winner here because the Future Fund, our very own sovereign wealth fund, is an investor in Elbit Systems, which is Israel's biggest manufacturer of bombs. They love their ethical investments, these people at the Future Fund. And look, the share price has been rallying since the ceasefire. One wonders whether Elbit bombs were also financing Elbit's bombing of Lebanon and Syria as well. Has anybody asked? Beck Judd has other commitments. Perhaps we could ask Liberal MP Bert van Manen, who is the latest Australian politician to travel to Israel on a junket to review the no genocide going on here caper. Look at that cherubic face of Bert, the face of an angel. How good is that business class tripping? To be fair to Bert, another 27 of his colleagues have already been on the junket, and probably another couple of dozen from Labor as well, and a few others. This is just the genocide rules-based order. Sorry, the global rules-based order. It's just the way that it is. We take Israel junkets, apparently. That's what we do with our time, with our publicly funded time. Now, as we had to file this on Thursday, on Maundy Thursday, we will sadly miss other potential candidates for Scam of the Week, which is sad because the Bring Out Your Dead announcements, as we like to call them, tend to flow thick and fast on Christmas Eve and on the eve of Easter, therefore later today, which is Thursday, so that they fall entirely on deaf ears or no ears at all, because of course nobody will be watching to report it. And so it is. The Scam of the Week goes to PWC for excellence in the field of cover-ups, as the other big four audit, tax and consulting firms are breathing sighs of relief. There but for the grace of God go I. Imagine the poor sods at PWC who've worked their guts out for years to achieve high gravy train status as a partner in the firm. They were just about to hit the big time when the PWC tax leak scandal broke. Check out our coverage too online over the Easter weekend of the big sugar pharma scandal involving Sydney University, Zach's excellent investigation too into the supermarket giant squeezing winemakers, the grog oligopoly, and, it's a must-read, Harry Chamay's negative gearing expose in his trilogy on the housing market called The Hunger Games Trilogy. Have a happy Easter, and thank you for your support here at the West Report. They're coming already. Here it is, Bring Out Your Dead. Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek has just approved the Barossa pipeline for Santos. How lovely. Out to 2056. Many years. APA will be pleased, that's the Australian Pipeline Association, which was on the record in the AFR this very week. They'll be pleased because they told the AFR, and the AFR actually published it, and we'll quote, "There's a desperate need for new gas supply to cut emissions." Well, of course, the government is all too obliging to its large donors from the fossil fuel industry, and so it was that the supreme irony came today. Tanya Plibersek, the Environment Minister, approving the latest fossil fuel development. Happy Easter to all.